Hello everyone, welcome back, and today in this video I wanted to give a preview of Barcelona's upcoming game against AS Monaco, and I'm sure we're all so excited for the Champions League to begin, and with the way that Hansi Flick has gotten this Barcelona team to play to start the season, we are so excited to watch them in the Champions League. And I know there are a couple injuries and I wanted to talk about those, but I just wanted to go over how I think Hansi Flick is going to set this team up. Like I said, the players that are available for Barcelona, and also just talk about this team because I know AS Monaco, they are the team that Barcelona lost to in the Joan Gamper Trophy during preseason. That wasn't a very good performance from Barcelona, but like I said, the way that Hansi Flick has gotten this team set up, I'm just so excited for this Champions League to begin. And just talking about the availability of the players, Dani Olmo, he picked up an injury in the last game, so he'll be out for around 4 to 5 weeks. Fermin Lopez, unfortunately, it was just announced today that he picked up an injury in training, so he will not be available for this game. It seems like he might be out for a couple weeks or a month. And of course, Frenkie de Jong, Gavi, they just got back into training, and that's great to see, but of course they will not be available for this game. Ansu Fati, I could potentially see him making the bench for this game, but I'd be very surprised if he started. I think Hansi Flick is going to integrate him slowly into the team. But yeah, that's the availability, and I just wanted to now go over some possible lineups that I think Hansi Flick is going to put out. And in this first setup, I think all of them are going to be the same. It's going to be a 4-2-3-1. Sometimes there's going to be some variation there. There's going to be some players swapping positions because that's how Hansi Flick likes to play, and I think it works great because it makes Barcelona unpredictable. When Rafinha and Dani Olmo, when he was healthy, they were swapping positions and making different runs off of each other. But basically, it's going to be a 4-2-3-1. And the defense, there will be no surprises there. It's going to be Ter Stegen in goal, Jules Koundé on the right, Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez as the two center backs, and then Alejandro Balde on the left. And in my opinion, that is a great defense. I know Ronald Araujo and Christensen, they are both unavailable for, until December. So this is the best defense that they can work with, and I'd be very surprised if he makes any changes to that starting 11, especially in the defense. And then moving higher up the field, I think this is where Barcelona could definitely make some changes, and it's hard to predict what Hansi Flick is going to do, but I think the most likely scenario is going to be Marc Casado and Pedri in the double pivot because, that's what he has been going with in the last two games. Marc Bernal, before he was injured, it was going to be him and Pedri together, but Casado, I think he's done pretty well in the last two games, so I have a feeling that he is going to be starting tomorrow. And then, of course, on the right, it will be Lamine Yamal. On the left, I think it might be Ferran Torres. And then as a 10, it will be Rafinha. And then Lewandowski up top. Like I said, I do have some other lineups that I also want to go over. But I feel like this is the one that Hansi Flick is going to choose because when Dani Olmo was not yet available to start to make his debut for Barca, this was the lineup that he was going with. At least it was the attack. Rafinha as a 10, which I think he did very well there. And that's where a lot of Barca fans, including myself, wanted to see him play. But we didn't know if it was going to work. But I think he looked very comfortable there because I think his shooting outside the box, his chance creation, his runs in behind, it's great when he has that freedom to move around the pitch. And I don't think he's exactly a touchline winger on the left or the right. So I'm completely fine him playing as a 10. And then Ferran Torres, I think a lot of Barca fans do not like him, right? I made a video basically saying that I hope he has some use under Hansi Flick. And some Barca fans basically said they didn't even want to watch my podcast anymore. That's how much they disliked Ferran Torres. And look, I understand. Has he justified that $55 million price tag? No. But I still think he has a pretty good goal-scoring record for Spain. I think he can get some use. His profile, his runs, I think he does make smart runs. Sometimes he's not able to finish his chances. But still, there is a decent profile in there that is usable. And, would I rather like to see Pau Victor start in the game tomorrow? I think possibly. I'd be completely fine with Pau Victor starting because I think when he came off the bench and he was playing as a left winger, he did very well. He was making great runs in behind. He had one or two chances that maybe he could have put away. But I really like when players are getting in those positions. And I think the finishing will come with confidence, with time, because I think that Pau Victor especially has so much time to grow as a player. But it's nice to see him make intelligent runs off the ball. That's what I really enjoyed seeing. And so Pau Victor, Ferran Torres, either one of those can start on the left. And I think this is the most likely scenario that we will see tomorrow. And with this lineup, I think given the players that Barcelona have available, I think this is probably the best lineup that they can put out. And then moving on to a different scenario, we could see Pablo Torre starting as the 10 and then Rafinha moving to the left, which of course, he would swap with Pablo Torre as well. Pablo Torre is completely comfortable playing as more of a left inside forward. And Rafinha, you just want to give him the freedom because the form that he's in right now, he looks so good. This is the best form that I've ever seen him in as a Barcelona player. So you want to play towards his strengths and give him the freedom to move around the pitch and do what he does best. And Pablo Torre, I think in preseason, Hansi Flick, it did seem like he counted on him and he wanted to see him continue to play. But then, of course, when all the midfielders came back, when Pedri was available, Casado and Bernal were doing so well. And then, of course, when Dani Olmo was introduced to the first team and Rafinha was playing as a 10, Pablo Torre's minutes, they diminished, right? I think we've only seen him come off the bench one or two times since then. But I still think there's a good player in there. We didn't really get to see it much when he was at Girona because he didn't get much playing time there either. But I still think there's a great player, and we saw that in preseason. He can be creative. He can make very good little touches and turns in tight spaces. So there's someone that can also play in between the lines there, which I think if you have a like-for-like Dani Olmo replacement, it could be someone like Fermin Lopez or Pablo Torre. So if you wanted to replace that profile there, you could add Pablo Torre to the starting lineup. But I think, to be honest, I could see Ferran Torres starting over Pablo Torre, and also Pau Victor starting over Pablo Torre, because, I mean, not that I wouldn't be pleasantly surprised if Pablo Torre was starting, but I just think, given the options that Hansi Flick has gone with, it doesn't seem like one of his first choices is Torre. So this is just another option that I wanted to talk about. I don't know what you all would rather see, but then I also have one more that I wanted to talk about. And then the last one would switch the midfield up a little bit and add more of a defensive presence in Eric Garcia. And I think he's come off the bench and done pretty well there. I know Xavi did try and play him as a defensive midfielder in a single pivot. Just didn't look like he was completely comfortable, but he only got 1 or 2 opportunities, and then he just wasn't played there again. And now, I don't think Eric Garcia has actually played as a center back under Hansi Flick yet. I think he's always been introduced in the midfield. And with the injury of Marc Bernal, it does seem like Eric Garcia can be that defensive profile that the midfield might need in some big games, right? So I could see him playing as a defensive midfielder, more of a double pivot with him and Casado being on the left, and then Pedri would be as a 10. And that's very nice. I still do like to see Pedri have that freedom to be very creative, because I think he is one of the best players in the world in his position on the ball. There aren't many other players in the world that can do what he does. So it's nice to give him that ability to go close to the box and to create goal-scoring chances, to score himself. That's great to see. But like I said, a lot of Barca fans talk about this conversation of should Pedri play higher up the pitch. I like him as an 8, but I also think as a 10, he's a great option there, especially with Dani Olmo not being available. So I wouldn't mind this lineup either. I think there are definitely... this is a stacked lineup, to be completely honest. Whether you go with option 1, 2, or 3, or maybe he comes out with a completely different, surprising lineup. But I'm going to be honest, I think one of these 3 lineups would be what Hansi Flick plays tomorrow. And I also made these jerseys in the green because I think they just announced the jersey, so I'd be surprised if they don't use that in tomorrow's game, so I'm excited to see them in that jersey. But yeah, this is the lineup, this is the setup that I'm expecting Hansi Flick to go into this game with. And of course, in my last few videos, I've talked about the momentum that Barcelona have, right? They're playing out of their mind right now. They're playing so good. This is the best that we've seen Barcelona play in a very long time, to be completely honest. And I think so much praise goes on to Hansi Flick, because this is a similar squad to the one that we saw with Barcelona last year. And I don't want to discredit everything that Xavi did, but Barcelona, they're playing to the level that we believe they could achieve, right? This was the ceiling that we thought Barcelona could play into. And I think Hansi Flick, he's gotten the most out of his players. He's given the trust to players like Pedri, Rafinha, and they just look like they're at the top level again. And so that's very nice to see. But this game against AS Monaco, I think this is going to be a very big test, because I think someone said, I don't really watch League One to be completely honest, but someone said that Monaco are doing very well. I don't know if they've lost a game yet in the league, so they're in very good form as well, right? And they did beat Barcelona 2 or 3-0 in the Joan Gamper Trophy. I don't exactly remember that scoreline, but it was not a very good performance from Barca, and I think some fans were maybe worried going into this season. But of course, Hansi Flick, the way that he's gotten this team to play in the first 5 games in La Liga, those doubts, you don't really even remember this result, right? But Monaco, they did get the best of Barcelona, so you have to be careful going into a game. But this is the Champions League, and I think anything could happen. That's what makes it such an entertaining and enjoyable competition. But Barcelona, in these big Champions League games, I think this is what we were so excited to see from Hansi Flick, is to bring that physicality, that mentality that you need to go into these big games in the Champions League and perform, especially away from home. This is not an easy first game for Barca. This is a game that, given how good they're playing, you expect them to compete and do very well in. But this is not a gimmick, right? Or this is not a giveaway. This is not a giveaway win. So Barcelona, they have to go to Monaco. They have to earn it. They have to play very well and continue to progress as a team and play like we've seen them play in the first couple games. But I think Barcelona, they want to go into this game and have a very good start to their Champions League campaign. And this is the first game. This is the first time that Barcelona played in this new Champions League format. I've really liked it so far. And of course, you're getting 8 games instead of 6 and playing the same competitions or playing the same teams each time. But Barcelona in this new format, you want to get off to a good start. And this game tomorrow is the best opportunity to do that. Do we expect Hansi Flick to really change the system up that much? No, because of how well it's working. We want Barcelona to play the way that they've been doing, which is trying to dominate from the first minute, pressing for 90 minutes, making it very difficult for the other team to break your team down and pass through your midfield. yes, of course, I think sometimes they're going to give up some counters, right? There are going to be some long balls that maybe escape Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez, but that's okay, right? Because Barcelona, in the first couple games, they're very attack heavy. And I love to see that because I'd much rather win 4-5-2 to 1-0. And you never know what's going to happen in the last 10-15 minutes of a game. There's going to be a lot of long balls, right? There's going to be a lot of balls into the box. And if you're only winning 1-0, it's not a very comfortable last couple minutes. So Barca, I want them to dominate from minute one. And I'm not expecting it to be a 5, 6, 7-0 scoreline every game, but I want them to create a lot of chances. We saw against Girona, they just looked like the much better team in that game. And even their own coach admitted that. That's what you want from Barca. And that's, given the crop of players that Hansi Flick has at his disposal, that's what you want to try and achieve every single game. You want to try and dominate from minute one, go at them, create a ton of chances, get 20, 30 shots a game, and see how many goals you can score. And with players like Rafinha, Lamine Yamal, these special players that are in great form right now, anything can happen. So Barca, I do have a feeling they're going to play with 4 attackers. It's going to be Pedri and Casado and a double pivot. And I hope that Barcelona can go into this game creating a ton of chances and playing the way that we've seen them play this season. And of course, I think every player is very important at Barcelona, and they're all in great form, and that's what's helping Barcelona play so well collectively. But if I were to try and highlight a couple individuals, I would say Rafinha has to be on the top of the list, and I expect him to have a pretty good game tomorrow because in the Champions League, I feel like someone with Rafinha's mindset and mentality going into every single game and always giving 100% effort, I feel like he's going to have a big game tomorrow. And that's what we saw in that game against PSG. He was the Barcelona player that stepped up and made that game his, right? I mean, he had no fear going into that game against PSG, home and away. He was Barcelona's best performer. So I expected a big game from him. And these big Champions League nights under Hansi Flick, you just think Rafinha is going to show up. And so I'm very excited to see his performance. Of course, Lamine Yamal, with the way that he's performing right now and the talent that he has, you expect a great game from him. Lewandowski, I hope he has a pretty good performance as well, holding up the ball, quick turns, not really trying to overcomplicate things, and maybe pitch in with a goal. That'd be nice. And then on the left, if it's either Pau Victor or Ferran Torres, or maybe if Rafinha plays as a 10, and then it'd be Pablo Torre kind of switching into the middle on the left. Whoever that is, I hope they have a good game because, of course, with Dani Olmo as a 10 and Rafinha on the left, that was working very well, but I still think there are players that can step up into that position and still do very well. And then Casado and Pedri, I hope they do very well because Casado, I know a lot of Barca fans maybe aren't completely convinced by him yet. I think he's done very well, and I think in this last game, he was great. Him and Pedri, I think, work very well together, and that's what happened because Casado played a great pass to Pedri, who ended up scoring a great goal. So I think this team overall can do very well. You hope that the defense is also connected because I think there have been some communication errors or maybe just a lack of concentration on their end, and sometimes they give away a cheap chance, or like Ter Stegen let in a pretty cheap opportunity, and that's how Girona scored their goal in their last game. So I hope Barcelona together, they play very well, and I'm just so excited for this game in the Champions League because I know La Liga is so fun, and I was so excited for the season to begin. But this Champions League, especially with a new format, it's just another type of excitement. So I'm sure we're all very ready for this game to begin tomorrow. And as always, thank you very much. And anything regarding FC Barcelona, I love talking about it, and I know you all do too. I think all of us, it's just a type of togetherness that we get to talk about Barcelona. And so it's just always exciting, entertaining when Barcelona, they have a game, and there's always some hype and excitement surrounding that. So I'm just always excited to make these videos. And as always, thank you very much. I really do appreciate all the likes and the comments. It does mean a ton. So as always, thank you very much. VISCA BARCA. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and see you all tomorrow. Peace.